Well, good morning, everyone. We're taking on a big chore today, or a big project. Actually been procrastinating on a little bit. We are rotating tires, or at least some of them. And I'll go into explicit detail as to why I have to rotate them. But long story short, this outer dually on the passenger side is going to become the front, and the front is going to become the outer dually back here, which means I have to rotate them. And we'll get into details of that in a second here. But that's the project. Today is Saturday, and I'm leaving Wednesday for deer camp. So hopefully it won't take me too long. All right, so here's the deal while we're doing the rotation. After the Super C rally, I decided I wanted to put on a super steer. So on the way home from the Super C rally, which by the way, I have not put on a super steer yet. That's a project upcoming. On the way home, I stopped and had an alignment done because I wanted to make sure my front alignment was done perfect. Well, after they had changed the leaf spring under warranty on the other side, they didn't realign it. And the inside of each of the front tires, let's go around to the other side, has a little bit waviness to it. I don't know if you can actually see that. You can see a little waviness right there. And doing a whole lot of research, talking with Michelin, reading things on websites, talking to tire specialists for semis. The Michelin are bidirectional, which means they can, once they're rotating this way, you can spin them around and rotate them the other way. So by flipping these and putting them on the back, they'll be rotating the other way. And by having them rotate the other way, it's supposed to help even that out quicker. There is no issue from everyone I've talked to and read, taking the fronts and putting them to the rear, and taking the rear and bringing them to the front. The only thing that's really going to be an issue on this, other than moving these big 200-pound tires, the inside of this rim is going to be outside on the back, which means it's going to be filthy, and I'm going to have to scrub the hell out of it. And the same thing, the back tire, we're going to rotate it and bring it up here. The outside, or the inside will now be the outside. And I'm going to have to scrub the hell out of that. So not only am I jacking this thing up and taking tires off, I also have to polish as I go. Let's get started. All right, so I'm gathering up the tools that I know I'm going to need. First thing I know I'm going to need is a nut buddy to take off the lug nuts. Then after I get them broken loose with that, I use my impact wrench with the appropriate spacers to get up to a 1-inch 33 millimeter. The mother's aluminum shine, buffing wheel, power drill, and of course, as I've always said, you always have to have a bunch of cloth diapers around. I'm thinking that's all I'm going to need at this point. I'm sure there's other stuff that I will need when I dig into the project, but that's what I've gathered up so far, and use the jacks now to level it up and a jack to raise the axle. So on the rear axle, I have a 3-ton floor jack. Again, remember the weight of the RV is going to be on the leveling jacks. But to take the weight of the axle off so I can get the tire off, I've got a 3-ton jack that I'll use on the back and a 2-ton jack that I'll use to take the weight of the axle when I take the front tire off. Again, the jacks are going to be holding the weight of the RV. This jack, by the way, is the one I carry with me. All right, here we go. I'm going to start with the easy one, which is the front. My plan is get this off, turn it around, and get the inside all nice and polished and ready to go on the back. Then while this tire is in the air, then I'm going to jack that up, take that off, put this one on there so that the rear is only in the air for a short period of time. So that's the plan. Let's see what happens. Okay, got them all loose, or at least broken loose from the 400 and some odd foot-pounds. Should be able to use this for the rest of them. This is supposed to be like 300 foot-pounds. I don't know if you remember when I did the shocks, but I tightened a lug nut as tight as I could with this. Then I got my torque wrench, and measured how far I had to spin it to get 450 foot-pounds, which was actually 1/6 of a turn, which is what I just loosened it up. So let me go ahead and get this jacked up and take the lug nuts the rest of the way off. Large drive, so when I need to put a reducer on, still too big, need another reducer in order to get it onto here. Yeah, I gotta make that shiny and pretty so it'll be on the outside. I'm not sure we're gonna be able to do this. We'll have to give it a shot. That is in pretty bad shape. Holy cow, I don't know if I'll be able to get that cleaned up or not. And if I do, and I get the other one cleaned up, I need to rotate the valve stem. Well, before I go any further, let's see if we can get that cleaned up. All right, let's see what we got. Again, diapers, use them all the time. I do not know about this. the rust from the wheel, or from the brake drum, seems to have seriously stained this aluminum. Because I know aluminum doesn't rust, but holy cow. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that off. Only one way to find out. The aluminum is all pitted. As you can see, I can get a nice shine most of the places, but these rust spots from the brake drum, it's pitted the aluminum. Which means it's permanently stained, which means this is permanently a front tire. This whole project may have just come to a screeching halt. We shall see. Okay, let's take a quick look. I got this one little spot right here. In my own light, I guess. It looks like I got it cleared up a little bit. What I did was I took my pocket knife and scraped that a little bit, and I was able to get some of it off, but it left some scratches. So I really have nothing left to lose, because most likely this is going to be a front tire only, and this is always going to be on the inside. So I'm going to try a wire brush. I know that's kind of crazy to think of putting a wire brush on an aluminum wheel, but let's see what happens. Again, if it doesn't work, doesn't matter, it'll never be seen because this will always be on the inside. But if I can get this off and get it polished back up, then more power to it. Let's see what happens. Well, that's definitely taking it off. However, it's leaving lots of scratch marks from the wire brush. So now, before I continue, let me see if I can polish those scratch marks out. And if I can get the scratch marks off, we might be able to do this. We shall see. Now, I know what you're asking yourself, same question I asked myself. Why don't I just have the tire de-rimmed and swap the tires from the rims and leave them in their current position? Thought about that, but that costs money. I do this myself, it's free. Again, I've got more time than money since retiring, so. I don't think that worked. I don't think that got the scratches out. Now, that's leaving a big circle where the brake drum was, and my scrape marks from my wire brush. Well, let me think about this one. All right, here's the conclusion. I can, with a wire brush, get this rust off that came from the brake drum. I can get it off with a wire brush and then try and polish it, but it leaves lines and scratch marks in the aluminum where the wire brush was. I thought, well, you know, it's in the very back, I might be able to live with that. But then all this pitting all along here, I went ahead and tried to get some of that off, and you can see it did not come off. So I would end up having to wire brush the whole wheel, and then that whole wheel would be full of scratch marks even after buffed out and polished out. So the conclusion is I'm going to put this back on, and I may take it down to my neighbor who works on big rigs for a living, tires on the side of the road, and ask him to swap the rims. Or not. We may live with it. So anyhow, that's where we're at. You know, our rig has just over 56,000 miles on it. I really would like to have gotten these tires rotated, but I guess it's just not going to happen. Okay. This is supposed to be like 350 foot-pounds. And what I did when I changed the shocks is I tightened it as tight as I could, like I just did with that impact wrench. Then I used the torque wrench and measured out 450 foot-pounds, which was another 1/6 of a turn. So what I'm going to do, and the directions very specifically say, do not use your nut buddy for tightening, but I don't have a torque wrench anymore. That one I did during the shock change was borrowed. So we're going to tighten these just over around a 1/6 of a turn. Here we go. Failed project. I hate failed projects. I suppose I could have taken my time and used the wire brush and spent hours and hours and hours hand polishing to try and get the scratches out, but oh well. Oh well. I'm going to replace the tires not this coming summer, but the following summer. These are 17, I think middle of the year, sometime in 17. It's on the other side, which means I can get one more summer out of them, and then I'll be at 7 years. At which point I'm going to replace them. So, oh well, I'll just live with those bumps for another summer, and then I'll replace them. All right, finish putting things back together. Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I've been defeated. Only because I'm, I guess, a little vain, and I would not put something out there that is not going to be pretty and shiny. And I would never have gotten the inside of those wheels to be pretty and shiny. So I gave up on it. We've only got 56,000 or just over 56,000 miles on the rig. It's a 2018 and a half. We got it in April of 18. So, you know, we probably got a few more years on the tires, but I think we want to go one more summer, and we'll replace them before 25 or in the beginning of 25. So, lesson learned, it's easy to take a tire on and off. The other lesson is, once they're on the inside or the outside of the dually, they stay. Unless you take them off and clean them on a regular basis. I don't know, maybe, but anyhow, I guess I'm going to go ahead and get my super steer on order and get that on. So we'll see how that goes. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned a little something. Maybe save you the hassle of trying to do what I just tried to do and failed. But if you have any questions, comments, please comment down below. I'll be happy to answer them. Also, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. Thanks. Talk to you soon.